Right, me again. It's weekend and it's my turn to cook. And this one is going to be interesting, I'll be honest with you, because for some reason when they were doing this meal plan, apart from the vermicelli, which you'll see us doing later on, they completely forgot all of the ingredients that were supposed to go on the shopping list for this one. This is going to be chopped suey. So it is a noodle dish, and because half of the stuff hasn't been bought because they didn't actually put it on the shopping list, there's going to be an awful lot of substitutions in this one, just with what we sort of like have in the freezer or fridge, or is left over from other meals that we were doing. So first thing it says is finely chop an onion. Now, as you know, we've been doubling all the mixture, so I'm going to use 2 onions. If I can get the skin off this one. It's been a pain. See if that loosens it. That's a bit better. Maybe. Onion skin all over my fingers and it's sticking to it. Great. Get that out of the way. Now, because it's a noodle dish, rather than finely chopping, what I'm actually going to do, as you saw, is I've done a slice down the centre, and then I am going to thinly slice it so that it's in rings, so when it comes to frying it off, basically you've kind of got onion noodles. Just make sure you don't take your fingers with it. Straight in the wok. For those of you wondering, because yes, the kids do take a turn for one night a week in doing cooking. No, they do not get out of chopping onions, even though yes, for most of us that is a uncomfortable task, but at the end of the day onions go into so many things. Chopping them is just one of those things that you've got to put up with, and it's not as if it's going to kill you, unless of course you know, buy the frozen bags of pre-chopped onions, but that's a luxury item that we don't necessarily have the tolerance for. Glug of oil, and the recipe says that you're supposed to fry that off and get it soft. I'll quickly get that out of the way. Just make sure that you get your oil all the way up the side of the wok, because that is what is going to stop everything sticking, and because of the shape of a wok it will cook up the sides as well, so you don't have everything piled at the bottom. You can cook up the sides. Right, so that is softened and a little bit caramelised. Next thing, it is asking for freshly grated ginger and finely chopped garlic. Now, we don't use that. Normally, we would use jarred product like this. And unfortunately, we've run out of the ginger, so I'm going to have to use ground ginger just to get the taste. So a teaspoon of that in there, and a decent glug of garlic, like so. And just give that a bit of a squeeze around to activate it, get those aromatics out, and that can be turned off, ready for the next stage. Right, okay, so the ingredient that, well, the big ingredient that was missing was beef. Now, this would have been a beef chow mein. Thankfully, Pam got excess chicken, so we can make a chicken chow mein. This is the first of the substitutions. I've changed the chopping board because obviously you don't want to be cross-contaminating your stuff. This has to be cut into small strips, so I'll go down like that. Okay. And then thin strips like this, and the next stage is basically to fry these off in with your onion and garlic and ginger mix so they are straight into the wok, and I'll fry them off in a second. I'll crack on with chopping this lot, and you'll see the cooking. Right, heat of the wok's back on. In fact, I am going to turn it on to quite a high heat, and that chicken is in there. Let us get it fried off. Again, see how I'm pushing it up the sides to get all of the cooking surface. Alright, and no, not a big mound of it sat at the bottom there. Now this is going to take a while to cook through. Get it spread back out. Okay, as you can see, it is already starting to cook through on the bottom parts. But this is going to take a while. So I'll get this all cooked off, and it will have the chance to rest while I am later on prepping the noodles and the second part of the veggies. Right, so the next stage, if I don't stand on the cat, is to prepare the noodles. Vermicelli, rather than it all being in one long strand, it's been cut down into smaller, more manageable pieces. It doesn't call for it in the recipe because with this being hard foundation stuff, chances are they don't like you adding salt, but salt is going in because when you're soaking noodles you need some kind of taste there, plus you're going to be getting rid of most of the liquid in any case, which will take the salt with it. And boiling water to cover the noodles. Just get them tamped down so that they are covered and are going to soak. And apparently you leave that for about 15 minutes for the noodles to plump up and that can go off to one side. While that is happening, quickly check the recipe. We've done the meat. Yeah, okay. Alright. So, this is Veggie Prep. The next thing that actually gets added to the cooking stuff is the vermicelli. Now, the recipe asks for things like grated carrot and a head of broccoli and things like that. Because it wasn't on the shopping list, because they made a mistake, we are using stuff that we have in the cupboard. There's my peeler. Right, let's get these peeled and grated. I'm not going to top and tail these because I want something to hold on to while I'm grating. I'm going to grate at an angle so that I'm actually getting, so rather than that and just getting small strips, I'm going to go like that and get slightly longer ones because, you know, there's that. And then you can change the angle once it starts getting to the end. That bit came off, so I will just quickly julienne that, like so. Get those into a bowl because all the veggies go in at the same time. It does ask for capsicum, finely chopped. We use frozen because it's always in season. Is that about one capsicum worth? Frozen capsicum will chop. You just got to remember to slice through it rather than chop down, otherwise you'll end up flicking it all over the place. Big bit there, any other, yeah. Right, not necessarily what I would call finely chopped, but at least ready to be reserved. Right, this is whole baby corn. It's another substitution because we are trying to be healthy, which does mean a shit ton of veggies. And again, because we are wanting long thin with a noodle dish, rather than put them in whole, we're just going to julienne them. Right, so that's them all julienned. Let's get them into the ready pot. Blah blah blah. Okay, final thing. I want something like shredded cabbage. Let's get the knife in there and there, and then straight down the face, and that is going to come out in small noodle like bits. Again, cabbage wasn't called for on the recipe, but we had some on hand, and it is another substitution. Get a bit more. It's not as if cabbage is a particularly filling vegetable. Right, so the vermicelli has been soaked, and it says that I have to reserve half a cup, well, it's a full cup of the soaking liquid. Yeah, there we go. Pop that off to one side, and this lot gets drained. Let that heat up, and come on, start bubbling, steam a little bit. Right, I'll get the soaking liquid in. It smells quite nice, like, actually. And actually, it says to add the vermicelli now. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to get the veggies in. Because one thing that it says is that you don't stir it too often, otherwise the vermicelli starts to pulp and break up, and we don't want that. But we do want the veggies to actually cook through, so they're going in first. Now it looks as if the wok is very full, but just remember, cabbage is very stiff to start off with, but as soon as you get it over heat and start cooking it, it becomes quite limp. Let's get that heat up a bit, because we do want to work quite quickly, because we don't want all that vermicelli to congeal. I can hear it bubbling underneath, and I can see a little bit of steam coming up around the sides, but yeah, it's not quite up to the kind of temperature that I want. We do want that stock that's in the bottom to be quite nicely simmering. Come on, cook through. It's a shame I wasn't aware that this was on Pam's plan, because one of the things that, if it had been, that I would have substituted in would have been also thinly sliced bamboo shoots and bean sprouts. They always go really well in a stir fry like this. Right, let's just try some. Hot, but still got a bit of a crunch to it. That's the cabbage. Carrots the same. So I am going to call that, I guess it's, yeah, when you're doing a stir fry with veggies, the last thing you want is everything being soggy. So that is definitely ready for the vermicelli. Get that in. Probably calls for a small amount of soy sauce, but we deal with some in this household, some soy sauce. Let us get that mixed through thoroughly, and you may need to dig all the way down to the bottom and really sort of grab spatulafuls of ingredients to lift it up through the mixture. That is looking relatively well mixed. Just going to allow it another couple of minutes. See how the as the cabbage is cooked, the volume of it has actually gone down. I did tell you that would happen. Make sure the vermicelli is alright. It's looking okay. Yeah, vermicelli is definitely soft enough. And that, I am going to say, is a ready pan of chopped suey. Service! Yep, I heard so. Pasta scoop, because we're dealing with noodles. Get them in there. Make sure you dig to the bottom and get a fair swag of the meat and veggies. What do you reckon?